Influencing popular culture, politics, and everything in between. The local station takes you ringside as we discuss the crazy world that is professional wrestling. This is Going Ringside with The Local Station.
Hello there, welcome to the show. I'm Scott Johnson. So glad you could join us here on Going Ringside today. Got a great guest today. We're talking about Miss Debra McMichael, she used to be called, and then eventually she married Stone Cold Steve Austin. Of course, Debra was an iconic figure from her WCW days and eventually kind of almost becoming the first lady of WWE for a long time. So Debra McMichael was great. She's out of the business. She's in a totally different world, in the criminal justice world now. Got a whole new career, but still keeps her foot in the door with the wrestling world, of course, which made her famous. So we talked about her. She's actually the subject of a new up-and-coming HBO documentary. We talk a little about that. But I wanted to ask her about, there's been a lot of topical things. First off, her ex-husband, Steve Mongo McMichael, as you probably know, passed away from Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, not too long ago. It was in the news. He was able to, at the very end of his life, make the NFL Football Hall of Fame, which is great for Mongo. A lot of people were pulling for him. Then, of course, she goes to WWE after WCW folds and she separates from Mongo. She goes into WWE and she's taken on as she's Stone Cold Steve Austin's wife. That immediately places her at the absolute peak of the industry. It was fascinating to watch. And to her, it just felt like a job, because for me, I would be like, I'm sitting on screen with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm at the top of Raw, SmackDown, all the pay-per-views, all that. But for her, it was just a job. She was a lovely lady. Very excited to sit down and talk with her. So let's get to it without further ado. And a little later in the show, friend of the show, Desiree Joseph with the Chutes and Ladders podcast will join us to talk about Miss Debra. But let's get to it. Here is Debra McMichael. Well, we're excited to be joined on the TV show today by Debra, Miss Debra, as we knew her back in the day. Debra, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
What is going on in your life right now?
I just have a lot going on. I'm enjoying my life. I'm working at the New Orleans District Attorney's Office.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I heard about that.
Orleans Parish District
You're in a
Attorney's
totally
Office.
different world from pro wrestling right now.
Yeah.
Tell me about the change.
Well, you know, I just feel like, well, you just got a different season.
Yeah.
So I went back to school after my wrestling career and got a bachelor's, and then I got a master's of science in criminal justice.
And
now
you're going all with it now. But
Yeah.
you still remain in the wrestling world. It's kind of hard to leave, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a part of me.
So how did you get brought in? It was because of Steve in the mid-90s? Was that kind
Well,
of
in the 90s, I actually had studied acting in New York, at least.
you had?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wanted to be a soap opera star.
Well, you kind of were, in a matter of
Yeah,
speaking.
you know, I put it out in the universe. I put it out there, not completely exact to be like on a soap opera TV show, but I didn't think about wrestling being a soap opera.
And then when you was it
wish.
kind of culture shock when you got in there?
Well, I really had not watched wrestling, and then when Steve McMichael, when he retired from the Bears, and then they brought him in to WCW, and then they ended up bringing me in. So I actually worked there for 6 months for free.
Oh, you did?
I said, y'all just give me a chance. I work for free. And then they created that, you know, the Debra character, the Queen Debra.
And I remember you kind of were on Ric Flair's arm a lot early on.
Yeah,
At the very
and
beginning. What was that like to work with Rick?
Oh my God, he's so fun.
He is?
He's so fun.
Yeah?
Yes, he's fun. It was such a good time. It was a good time because, you know, we're on live TV and you don't know what Rick's going to do.
No, you don't. Was it really like that? You didn't know what he would do week to week?
Yeah. You didn't know.
Really?
You didn't know. Yeah, because we would all be kind of just, you know, winging it and improv.
Now, eventually, a few years later, you make the shift when WCW folds to WWE. What was the transition to WWE like?
It was a different character. So then they changed me from Queen Debra to Debra. And then I had to adjust to that too. But I loved it. I mean, it was different because then I was more physical.
Well, you were more physical and you were more kind of objectified because you were wearing the ball gowns in WCW, I remember.
Yeah.
Then you've got Jerry Lawler saying puppies.
Yeah.
on the opposing TV show.
And you know what? You just never, well, you know, it's Attitude Era.
Yeah, it was the Attitude Era.
I remember it was Attitude Era and I'd be like, oh my goodness, my mom, it was like rest her soul. I was glad she wasn't here to watch this. She'd be really mad at me.
She would have, you think so?
Yeah. Because, you know, back then it was
Yeah.
You know, we didn't know what we were going to do every day.
Uh-huh.
So it was fun, though. I like working in the Attitude
And you
Era.
eventually started working with Steve.
Yes.
Which was...
With Steve McMichael.
No.
And then Steve Austin.
Steve Austin in WWE, and you're at the absolute top of the industry at that point. Was that kind of a culture shock to you? I mean, you'd been groomed because you'd been working with Ric Flair, so you kind of always seemed to work with the top people.
You know what? It was just a fluke. I didn't realize that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I just was natural to me. It was like, oh, okay, it's just what it is, you know. But I never watched myself.
But you didn't watch yourself. Why not?
Because I didn't want it to mess up what I did.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know, then I'd be objective, and I'm like, oh, I can't move this way or that way.
Yeah. And I do want to end real quickly. We did lose Steve McMichael a few years ago. How's that been? Everyone's just kind of heartbroken over it.
That was really sad. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I think it's been a little over a year.
Yeah, a little over a year
I think it
now.
was last April, because I went to the funeral and stuff up in Chicago.
And how was it? Were there a lot of folks there?
Yeah, it was odd. It felt odd. It was like all the Bears. It was like we were all back together.
And it seemed like he stayed with us to get in that Hall of Fame, which was really cool.
He was tough. I've seen Steve play with like broken ribs.
Really?
He never missed a game, and I would see him, like one time he was sewing up a little harness so he could wear it during the football games.
Okay.
He played with broken ribs and knees and never missed a game.
I don't know if I'm allowed to pull the cat out of the bag right now. It looks like HBO's following you. Is that right? Can you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What's going on with that?
Yes, well, they have been in New Orleans and they're filming a documentary on the criminal justice system, and mainly at the Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office. And I'm a victim witness coordinator, so I work with victims of violent crimes in the trials. And so they've been in the office filming the prosecutors, you know, our DA Jason Williams and all the way, and the other victim witness advocates, and they're filming like all the prosecutors then that way you can see how we all work together as a team because we're all in the same office.
Well, Debra, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Sure.
Well, I appreciate Debra sitting down with us. Such a great woman to talk to. And we've got friend of the show, Desiree Josen, here with the Chutes and Ladders podcast. Desiree, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
Debra was kind of iconic as far as female figures in wrestling. She wasn't necessarily a wrestler,
no,
but she was certainly a major force.
I loved her. I thought she was beautiful, and she got the crowd going.
She did. So I want to start before she hit her peak. When she early started in WCW with Steve McMichael, she was brought in kind of almost as a football player's wife is how it started out. But she was with Ric Flair, and they realized she has star potential.
You can't keep your eyes off of her. And there's something, the TV loved her. She was perfect for that time.
She was perfect for that time. It was interesting. I don't know if you remember the old Four Horsemen stuff. They had Debra, they had Miss Elizabeth, and they had Nancy Benoit, who passed away, of course. Elizabeth did too. But it was interesting how they portrayed the women. They would wear elegant ball gowns.
Yes.
It almost looked like high-end prom dresses.
Yeah.
Which was different than what we saw in the Attitude Era 2 or 3 years later.
I remember that, and that's why I was always just giggling. If you go back and watch them, they are full-blown like evening gowns.
Yeah.
And that's not what you would expect for a wrestling ring.
And you think that that was right at the cusp of, we've got all these beautiful women here, they're going to figure out what to do with them.
Take those clothes off, basically.
Vince McMahon figured that out. So she goes over, I'm trying to remember if she went before the WCW folded or not. I can't quite remember. But of course they did not hide that she was attached to Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I thought was interesting. That kind of humanized Steve for the first time.
Yeah.
Because he had I think she was his wife there at the time, but he had a significant other with him during this.
Yeah, and it was really odd to see that too, and actually go back and rewatch that just because he was he's iconic and crazy, and then it kind of softened him to see him with Debra.
It absolutely did. Did you see Debra when she was at River City Wrestling Con? Did you get a chance?
I did. I didn't get to meet her, but I walked up to the table and
it
say
was
hello.
The reason it was fascinating because we talked to her, and she has an HBO documentary being done on her. She's in a totally different non-wrestling world. Does it fascinate you when you see, and she looks like she's doing quite well,
Yeah.
when they just go into a different life?
It's kind of surreal, but good for them for choosing to do something that also makes them happy. But isn't she in criminal justice?
I know, it's odd for me because it's a good professional staff.
It's a legit career.
Yeah, a legit career. And it's just interesting because we view them as the character we watched on television.
Right.
But they're real professional people.
And don't get me wrong, all I can think about when I see her is Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
And her. So that's, I know that was so disrespectful, but it was.
Well, I mean, you could argue it was disrespectful, but she was also part of it.
She loved it, I'm
She
sure.
was absolutely part of it. It was not something that, she wasn't playing into.
Right.
But Desiree, where do people find Shoots and Ladders?
On YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify.
Thank you, Desiree, and thank you to Debra McMichael. We'll see you back here next time on Going Ringside.
This has been Going Ringside with the local station, brought to you every Wednesday on your favorite podcast player, on News4 Jax Plus, as well as the News4 Jax YouTube channel.